Welcome.
to Dark Narratives. I'm Isabella.
And I'm Alexandria. What is happening? There's got to be something happening with the planets or something, because
I was just
so
gonna
much
say,
going
because you
wrong.
always go there, but it's so true.
It's true. I don't know. I've been trying. My credit card got compromised, and then I got a new one, and then I was trying to set it up, and then it wouldn't let me set that up, and then well, it's been a minute. How are you?
It's been a long minute. I'm just really nothing. I've just been parenting, and that's it. That's my life.
Yeah. That's a lot, though.
Yeah, but you went on a little trip, just a solo mama trip, and how was
Kind
that?
of. Well, it was for a course. So it was kind of like a conference, I guess you could call it. So we were in a room, in a conference room, from 10 till 3 both days. And then we had formal dinners both days from 6 to 10. So, but it was nice to be on my own, I guess, and kind
And
of,
get away kind of from the winter.
yeah, it was warm, but yeah, we were inside most of the time. But yeah, and it was a bit chilly. Most of the people there thought it was kind of chilly outside.
Oh, really?
Yeah, some people were still wearing their jackets the whole time. I'm like, woo, this is so nice.
You're like tank tops, shorts.
Yeah,
That's
seriously.
funny. Did you get to
Dresses.
do any swim? Did you have any of your own time?
No, not much. We had, yeah, there was in the morning before the things kicked off. Some people swam in the morning.
What is this conference? Is this that course you're doing outside of work?
Yeah, so I'm certified
Oh,
now. So
wow.
my coaching,
Oh
so
my
I had,
God.
so everyone, if you need a success mindset life coach, I'm your girl.
What? I
But no,
didn't
I'm
even know.
yeah, so it was a grueling exam. My gosh, it was
Really?
14 multiple choices, and then there was 22 essay questions, and
Holy
then
shit.
the rest were all short answers. So there was, what is that, 50 something short answers. And then on
Oh.
top of that, I had to submit a 30-minute video of me coaching someone.
Oh, really? So did you do a
No, it
mock
was
video or were you
No, it
actually
was like a
coaching
real.
someone?
Yeah, asked Lanny if he wanted to do a session with me, and he was up for it. And I was like, "Oh, do you have anything you want to talk about any roadblocks or anything that's, holding you back or making you feel nervous or whatever?" And so I
Yeah.
just, yeah, I did a video with him for half an hour and submitted that. Yeah,
Oh,
so it's
that's so cute.
yeah,
He took
ish,
it
but he took
serious.
it. Yeah, it was a true coaching session, and he said he felt good after it. Yeah.
Oh,
It was
it's
over
like,
Zoom too, because all my clients are going to be online for the most part, right? Because
yeah,
the whole point of it is you can coach people from all over the world.
that's so cute.
But
So
yeah, I
not
didn't.
cute like your life accomplishment here is not cute, but just picturing you and Lani doing this is so cute.
Yeah, he was a good client.
Aw. So do you like so you're certified now. So now you start your own your own
Yeah, I can.
I guess you're
So,
gonna
and I
have to
don't
make
have
a
a
lot of
niche.
videos and stuff, hey?
I know, right? So I'm
You're
like,
gonna have
ugh,
to
I
get a
just want to get back.
tripod.
I did. I bought one.
Yeah, I have a tripod too because I wanted to try to figure something out for when like
Yeah.
while I was on maternity leave. I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to figure out how to find what makes you happy and also what you can figure out to I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to figure out who you are and what makes you happy, finding a career that makes you happy and taking a pivot in your career life and also to do anything that's gonna support your family and work for your family. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I want to do something where I have more flexibility, but
Yeah, because I always sometimes I think about, oh, I get really nervous sometimes of putting myself out there. Even this, sometimes I get stressed. I'm like, oh my God, I'm putting myself out there. And I've always been, except for in high school, I've always been quiet on social media and I've never really posted stuff. You know that. And
mhm.
then I starting to do it now, I get a little bit uncomfortable, but then I always even when I was maybe thinking about making videos and stuff, I was like, I always tell myself there's nothing wrong with trying to figure out what you can do to support your family while keeping yourself happy and what works for your family. I always tell myself that.
Yeah, your videos are super cute, your little house videos, and
Thanks.
I think you do an amazing
Thank
job
you.
with all that. And you
They're
know what?
actually
Maybe
like,
one day, I was gonna say, maybe one day we can both set up our tripods and have a video recording of our
I love
something.
that. I love that. And I feel like you have to make videos and play with them so much. You'll probably end up when you, I don't know if you've started making videos, but start making videos and then so many in the beginning, you'll just trash them and
I
restart.
know. I guess the beauty of not being anybody or, just being a
Yeah.
nobody right now is that nobody's truly really watching. You know what I mean?
Nobody's
I don't
watching.
have a
Yeah.
huge following. So yeah, whatever I
Yes.
put out there, it's kind of just practice and it doesn't matter if
Yeah.
it's stupid.
100%. And also now too, it's just not stupid because it's the way the world is running it off of social media and the internet. I feel like you'd almost be silly not to try something
Yeah, that's true
if you
too. I
want to
agree.
change in your life. If you want to change in your life, there's nothing stopping you anymore from trying to find it by being at home.
Right. Yeah, even you know what? You can even self-publish books now on Amazon. You can if you
Yes.
yeah, there's no waiting around. If you want to do something, go do it. Go do it, guys.
It's so true. So many people will be like, I wish I could do this. I wish I could do this, but there's nothing. Just try.
Fear is what's holding you back,
I
right?
think
Because
it's
it's
amazing what
like,
you're doing. You're trying this and now you're certified. That's a big deal. I hope you guys threw a little party at home.
oh, we didn't, but we should maybe now.
You
I got home and I
should.
was overwhelmed and I just wanted to go back to my routine. And then I
Yeah.
kind of went down a spiral because I was, this is too much out of my comfort zone.
But I think you guys should throw a little party because that's so exciting.
And then also, I was in Palm Springs, and then I found this case that I was going to tell you about that happened in Palmdale, California,
Ooh, okay.
which was just a couple hours away from Palm Springs, because it's just,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly, I think 2-hour drive from Palm Springs. So
Okay. Tell me.
this happened in June 16th of 2010. Going back a decade and a half, we're in California.
Your
Everybody,
Palmdale.
get your bikinis.
Okay, you're making me
On
sad
the,
because I really want to go swimming.
I know.
Okay,
Well, and also this is sad. So
well,
let's pipe down and get a little sad here.
okay.
Stop thinking about swimming. We're thinking about murder now.
This is serious.
On the evening of June 16th in 2010, around 7:30 p.m., the Palmdale Sheriff Station in California had been relatively quiet when a 33-year-old Lorraine Austin suddenly burst in. Inconsolably
Oh,
upset
wow.
and in a panic, her clothes and her hands were covered in blood, and she was not making any sense. Like they were struggling to understand what she was saying between her frantic breaths. When they finally got her to calm down, she said her name was Lorraine Austin, and she went on to tell them a horrifying story.
First of all, I love how you started this, and I just have to say this sounds like a scene that starts on an episode of Criminal Minds. And I just
Oh,
had to relate it to Criminal Minds because if you don't watch Criminal Minds, a, I'm so sad for you. You must. You're missing out.
you must.
Okay.
Well, okay,
Go
so
on.
Lorraine had just came from her friend LaNell Barsock's home. She went to her friend's house to finish her hair. I guess she was doing her a weave, and
Okay.
she started it earlier that day and she hadn't finished. So she went back to finish, and then helping herself into the house looking for Linnell, but not finding her anywhere. She helped herself in the house. She couldn't find Linnell. She called out to her, but no one seemed to be home. Then she decided to go check in the garage, and it was dark. She told them she slipped on something wet and slippery.
Oh fuck.
Then, when she turned around to see what it was, she slipped again and then fell that time. And when she realized what it was a clear plastic sheeting was covering the floor of the garage.
Okay.
Weird, right? Anyway,
Yeah,
so
that's
she
and
was
also that's fucking would be slippery.
yeah, and so she's fallen now and she's struggling to get her bearings before getting back up again, and her eyes finally adjust to the dark and she realizes what she was looking at. There was blood all over the garage, also very slippery.
Oh my god.
And then a few feet away from where she had fallen, she saw a pair of bare legs sticking out from behind LaNell's car.
Oh God.
And then Lorraine told the officers that she'd recognized her friend's pedicure. So she's walked into the garage, slipping all over this shit. She's realizing it's blood fucking everywhere. And then she sees her friend's pretty pedicure legs sticking out from behind her car.
I
And
just don't
so,
know why, but I just keep thinking about why is she at the police station? Why is this not a 911 call? But yeah,
yeah, well,
go
we'll
on.
get there because she
Yeah.
said what happens. So she's not sure what the fuck is going on at this point, and she's freaking out. Lorraine stood up and went over to her friend. She told the police, quote, I walked around the corner. She had a bag over her head, a black
Oh.
garbage bag. And I ran over there and I picked her up, but I could tell she was already gone, dead and covered in blood. Lorraine told them that she had checked LaNell's bare foot for a pulse, but didn't find one. For sure, she was dead.
Oh.
And Lorraine was a mess, rightfully so. She's,
Obviously.
yeah, still covered in her friend's blood when she had gotten back to her feet after the gruesome discovery and slipped and landed in like a pool of her friend's blood. So that's
Right.
why she's covered in blood. She tells them this is when she heard a noise coming from inside the house, so she wasn't alone.
Oh my God.
And she started following the noise, which what the fuck? Why would you
Oh
do
my
that? Why
God,
would you just
leave.
leave? Yeah.
That is so scary.
Instead of just leaving like you and I would do, she went in to see what the noise was. She went back inside the house to see Lewis, Linnell's boyfriend,
Okay.
and he lives there too at this house. She sees Linnell's boyfriend, Lewis, standing at the top of the stairs, staring at her,
Oh
holding a
fuck.
gun.
For some reason, I'm envisioning this where you're just walk in, you look, and there's like just beady eyes watching you.
Holding a gun,
Oh
yeah.
fuck.
And I'll tell you a bit about Linnell and Lewis's relationship.
Okay.
Linnell had met Lewis in 2006, 4 years prior, at the university where she studied to become a nurse. One afternoon, he was waiting for a bus when Linnell struck up a conversation and actually ended up offering him a ride instead of him waiting for the bus.
Oh wow.
And this was, yeah, this was typical for Linnell. She was always reaching out to anybody she could. She'd done this, like she was very like a sweetheart. She was helpful. And one of her friends recalls, Marcel, he recalls that she had done the same when he immigrated from Cameroon, which is a place in like, Africa. Anyway,
Okay.
one of her classmates in the nursing course, he said she took him under her wing and helped him navigate the culture shock of being a student in a new country. Marcel called her his guardian angel.
I could see
He
that
later,
being a quite a culture shock and pretty
yeah.
scary.
Yeah, it was such a culture shock. He'd never even celebrated his birthday before, and he
Oh
told
wow.
Dateline that she gave him his first birthday present ever. So she was like a real
Oh.
sweetheart and always wanting to help people out. So
Yeah.
it wasn't out of character for her to offer Lewis a ride instead of him
Right.
taking the bus.
Mm-hmm.
Right away, she and Lewis hit it off. Before long, Lewis and Linnell were joined at the hip. Friends were worried that it was too much too fast, but there was no stopping it. They moved in together in 2009. They bought their home in Palmdale on a quiet suburban street, and it was a
Oh, they went like the
30,
full 9 yards fast.
yeah, and they bought this like 3,700 square foot home.
Sorry, that's the sound of my chair. Sorry.
Did
It's
it
really
hurt
loud.
you?
No, but I'm like, that's gonna be hard to get out. Cut out.
Ouch. I won't.
Like my leg on the leather.
Oh, that's why. Ow.
Like, what the fuck? Okay,
Um,
proceed.
okay, so this house was pretty big. It was 3,700 square feet, detached
Okay,
home.
holy, and no kids or anything. They're just
No
wow.
kids, yeah, and they had a double garage. And then also, now in the garage, she had her BMW sports car. So it was her dream home and her dream car.
They're
That
doing really
which
well for themselves.
And yeah, it seemed like she had her shit together. And Linnell had big plans for the house too. She wanted to remodel it and turn it into a sort of a boarding house for elderly people who needed live-in medical care.
Oh my gosh,
So
she's just the sweetest freaking human.
I know.
Oh
And
my, like
then
selfless it sounds like.
I know, because how many people, I mean, I love, helping people, but to have just people come and live in my house so I can care for them, no, thank you.
That's
Sorry.
crazy. I think it takes a special type of person,
Yeah.
you
Or
know?
like how selfless is it just to give up your space? I mean, it's a big house, but still.
Still, that's really incredible.
Yeah, and I guess Lewis was super supportive of this, and it seemed
Oh,
like they had finally made it, like you're saying,
yeah.
and the two were happy together. They started talking about getting married even. But in the months leading up to LaNell's murder, their relationship had gotten rocky in a major way. LaNell had confided in her friend Marcel about it. They argued a lot about money, as LaNell didn't think Lewis was a very smart about his finances, and she told her friends that Lewis didn't seem to have much ambition either, I guess, and
Oh
seemed kind of
no.
lazy. Yeah, she said when it came to him finding
Don't
a
like that.
career, he had a job. He was working the maintenance department for the city of Hawthorne, but he didn't seem interested in moving up the ladder or really doing anything else. This really
So he wanted
bothered
just
Linnell.
enough money to live, and he was fine with that. So she obviously was the breadwinner.
Well, it kind of seemed like he was somewhat mooching off of her.
Well, yeah, like she was the breadwinner and he kind of liked it that way.
Yeah. And it's not
Yeah.
like he was a stay-at-home dad or anything.
He's not contributing anything.
Hardly,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's tough.
So that bothered her. And then on top of that, he was also jealous, possessive, and controlling.
Okay. See you
Mm-hmm.
later.
Yeah, right.
Like,
He
holy fuck.
So just red flags. He kept a close eye on Linnell, swiping her phone and snooping in her texts and call history.
What the fuck?
Sometimes he even texted her male friends and pretended to be her just to see what they would text back.
Are you fucking kidding me?
What the fuck?
Get a grip. Holy. What a
I wonder
stressful life.
Well, and I wonder what he would text them. I wonder if it was explicit stuff, trying to see if that they would bite or something like that. You know what? Yeah, like you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, and then he would find a way to be mad at her for it. Because I bet you he'd be like, well, why would they respond that way if they didn't think that you were
Yeah,
into it? You know what I mean?
or it just ruins her relationships with her friends because they're like, what the hell?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's gross. He'd call any number he didn't recognize to see if it was to see if a man answered.
Oh, fuck, God
He
forbid, you psycho.
he right. He started stalking her. He'd drive over to the health clinic where she worked so he could watch and see who she went to lunch with. Just not good stuff, guys.
How uncomfortable is that? And
Yeah, she can't even go
scary.
for lunch. Then this gets really scary. A few months before the murder, police responded to a 911 call at Linnell and Lewis's house. Somebody had called to report a domestic disturbance because of a screaming argument coming from the house that started to sound violent. Nobody got physical, so nobody ended up getting arrested. Then one afternoon, not long after that 911 call, Linnell's mom, Bobby, that's how cute is that?
That
Bob.
is so cute.
Linnell's mom, Bobby, got a
Like,
frantic call from her daughter.
oh God.
Linnell said, Mama, Lewis tried to run me off the road.
Are
Yeah.
you serious?
Linnell's mom said that they had been arguing, and Linnell told Lewis that she'd had enough. She wanted to break it off for good. And she got into her car and drove off, trying to just get out of there and give them both time to cool down. But Lewis jumped in his truck and chased after her.
Oh my God.
He ended up
Like
scraping.
blind rage.
Yeah, like what the hell? He ended up scraping his truck all up the side of her car, shattering one of the windows, and it really shook Linnell up.
What that like smashed into her car?
Yeah,
Oh my
scraped all of
gosh.
the side of her car up, and her nice like little BMW that she loves.
She's lucky her car didn't lose back. She's lucky she didn't flip her car. It sounds like he went after her really hard.
Yeah, what the fuck? And she never charged him, and she stayed
Oh
with him after
man.
that.
Oh, because
So
she was probably terrified.
terrified, but and then also during the I think she was planning on leaving because during this time
Yeah.
Linnell was secretly dating another guy named Ike.
Oh shit. Yikes.
Yeah. And he was also in healthcare, so it kind of sounded like he kind of was
Yeah.
more up to her on her level.
Well, it sounds like
Um,
she had left him in her mind, but he just wouldn't take no for an answer. And
Probably.
she had to find another way out. That's what it sounds like to me.
Well, and then in order to keep this other relationship a secret, Ike had given her a cell phone, like a burner phone,
Uh-oh.
basically.
Oh
And
no.
he was the one who actually called 911 on the night that the domestic disturbance was reported when they were
Okay.
yelling, because he could hear Lewis yelling at LaNell over the phone.
Oh my gosh.
And that was the night that Lewis found out about Ike, Lorraine said. So
Oh shit.
Lorraine is told the cops that Lewis caught her talking to him on the secret phone
Oh
and
fuck.
flipped out. He was furious, especially when he found out Ike and LaNell had met on a dating site called fling.com.
Ooh, fuck.
Ugh,
That is
I know.
so bad.
And Ike was worried about her, especially after the incident with the truck. He felt like Lewis was dangerous, and he even texted Linnell's mom saying, "Ma'am, this is Ike. Linnell called me today. She sounded really scared and worried, like she was afraid Lewis might do something."
This is
And
sickening.
it's so crazy because it's those situations where people know something bad's gonna happen, like
Hmm.
see their friends in a bad situation or a bad relationship, and it's just you don't think the worst will ever happen until it does.
Absolutely, because when the person's in it, I can imagine that's all they see.
Yeah. And
Oh,
people are
that's
just like, oh,
terrifying.
they're an asshole or they're crazy. But anyway,
Yeah.
so when Linnell woke up on June 16th in 2010, it was another gorgeous day in Palmdale, California. She had no idea it was going to be the last day of her young life. And she had made plans with her best friend, Lorraine Austin, to come over and weave her hair. This brings us back to Lorraine's horrific discovery. As I mentioned, she had realized that she wasn't alone in the house and followed that
Hmm.
noise back into the house to see Lewis staring at her from the top of the stairs. At this point, like you were saying, you were imagining it, they locked eyes, Lorraine said. Her stomach dropped into her asshole.
100%, because of
Um,
course
sh
it would.
yeah, she picked that stomach and asshole back up and she bolted for the front door and ran to her car. And as she's fumbling her key into the ignition, she realizes that she left her cell phone there. That's why she didn't call the cops because she dropped it in the house.
Ah,
She
okay.
finally gets in her car. She lays on the gas and she drives as fast as she can to the sheriff's station. Although she hadn't gotten far before she saw Lewis's truck speeding up behind her.
Well,
She said,
I was gonna say there's no way in that situation I would be, oh, I'm just gonna go to the neighbors and call. Like if I forgot my cell phone, I'm not stopping anywhere except for the police station.
yeah, especially if this guy's got a
Oh,
gun.
yeah.
So she said that they made eye contact in the rearview mirror and he looked furious.
Oh my God.
Lorraine stepped on the gas, and when Lewis realized where she was headed, he backed off and disappeared into traffic, and then she lost him.
Oh my God. And
So,
he could have shot through the rear view mirror too, or the
yeah, you'd
rear
think he
window.
would too at this
Yeah.
point.
Oh my God. This is
But
terrifying.
I know, like a total scene, right?
Yes.
Police told her to sit tight and get herself together while officers and detectives raced over to the scene. They did find 29-year-old LaNell Barsock laying flat on her back on the floor of the garage, like Lorraine had told them.
Oh,
She was dead from a single gunshot wound to the back of the head with
oh
a
my
black
God.
garbage bag covering her head.
To the back of her head.
Yeah. Detectives suspected this was more of a clue as to who did it with the bag over her head, because as we
Yeah.
know, when a killer covers their victim's face, it usually tells us that there's something, some degree of remorse
Personal.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or at least
Right.
some shame.
Mhm.
The killer covers the face so that they don't have to look at what they've done, and so it
Exactly.
doesn't look like the victim is looking at them, basically.
Yeah. Sick.
So, yeah, so a lot of times this means the victim knew their murderer. pretty well.
Right.
Not always,
Right.
but it's actually written in the homicide investigation training manuals.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it's more often that that is the case than it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Detectives Bobby Kenny and Joe Espino. I'm hoping I'm saying those right. They also noticed how nice LaNell's house was, big, spacious, and brand new, seeming
Mhm.
as though LaNell hadn't lived there long and was still in the process of unpacking everything and even hadn't
Oh,
furnished the place yet. They kind of just got there.
wow. And she
In the-
probably was so freaking excited.
yeah, to remodel and everything.
Wow.
And at 29, and she buys this gorgeous
I
house.
was thinking that. I'm like, fucking go, girl.
Hmm. In the garage, detectives noticed someone had opened the trunk of her car and shoved a bunch of bedding in there stained with blood, as well as a spare tire leaning against the bumper, as though someone had dragged it over there to create a makeshift ramp to try to hoist the body into the trunk, but seemingly never got it in.
So he maybe if her friend hadn't come to the house, then he might have been going to try to get rid of her.
Yeah, and roll her
Wow.
into the trunk or something like that, drop her
Mhm.
off in the middle of the desert. To the detectives, it looked like whoever killed LaNell had been in the process of cleaning up the scene and getting the body ready to transport somewhere, you're
Mhm.
saying. But for some reason, they stopped and fled, leaving her laying beside the car with a garbage bag over her head. And inside the house, there was no obvious sign of a struggle. However, Detective Kenny discovered in the living room you could see what looked like a faint outline of an area rug had been there and now it was missing.
Okay.
So you know what I mean? Like, when
Yeah.
an area rug has been somewhere for a while, you can kind of see.
Oh, yeah.
In the laundry room, there was a pile of blood-stained towels on the floor. There was some blood on the tile too. It didn't look like somebody had bled there. It looked more like
Mhm.
somebody had tried to wipe up some blood with towel and
Oh, yeah, yeah.
cleaning products. Yeah.
Okay.
To them, it was pretty clear it
Oh.
wasn't a burglary or burglary. It wasn't a
Burglary.
burglary. It wasn't a burglar or a home invader.
Right.
While they've been collecting evidence at the crime scene, and making their initial walk through the house, back at the sheriff's station, Lorraine Austin had pulled herself together enough to keep telling her story. Sitting in an
Mhm.
interview room at the sheriff's station, still covered in her friend's blood, by the way,
Oh my god.
she
And
starts
also
to
this
share.
guy's just fucking somewhere.
Yeah, they don't know where the fuck that guy is.
Ugh.
She starts to share some pretty damning info about old Lewis there, telling investigators his jealousy had come out of nowhere and that him and Linnell's relationship was getting a little fucked up, a little toxic, if you will,
Yes.
just a tad.
Just a little bit.
And as Linnell's self-proclaimed bestie, over at the house, at least a few times a week, Lorraine had witnessed more drama than she cared to between those
Mhm.
two over the past few months. And she felt like Lewis was unstable. Uh-huh. I
Understatement of the year.
yeah. Lorraine told the detectives when he found out about the secret cell phone, he went on a rampage, relentless, telling Linnell to break it off with Ike and didn't stop until Linnell promised to do so, which, in my opinion, rightfully so, right? If you
Mhm. Mhm.
found your husband with a secret cell phone, you'd be mad.
It'd be fucking like, oh yes, 100%. I feel like, of course, the cell phone and the you're on a dating app and you're supposed to be in a relationship with somebody is not okay. And but I keep thinking she must have been trying to get out and he just
Yeah.
wasn't having it and she's
Yeah,
doesn't
he
even know what
just
to do.
wouldn't leave her house.
Mhm.
Yeah, so she didn't know what to do because, yeah, Lorraine said that Linnell promised she would just end it with
Right.
him just to like calm him down.
Yeah.
But Lorraine didn't think she really meant it because Linnell really liked Ike and she was done dealing with Lewis's jealousy and temper. But to calm him down, like we were saying, in the moment, she promised to break it off with Ike. After that, problems continued to escalate. Everybody around Lewis and Linnell could feel it, like something was about to break. The day before the murder, Lorraine went over to the house to weave Linnell's hair, but the
Mhm.
tension in the air was too much for her, so she had left before they finished, promising to come back later. She came back around 10 a.m. the next morning. And when she
Okay.
got there, Lewis was getting ready to leave to drive to LA to work on his truck with a friend. And the friend's place was about an hour and a half away. Lorraine
Mhm.
figured she and LaNell would be plenty of time to finish up her hair before he got back. I don't know
Okay,
how
first of
long you
all,
think.
for it to be that thick in the air of tension to leave,
Yeah.
holy shit. And then you think he's gone, but then you get there and he's there.
Ugh, get
Holy
out.
fuck. Yeah.
Yeah, she didn't want to get caught in the middle of another argument. Lorraine told detectives it had gotten to the point where she didn't even want to be there when Lewis was home.
Mm,
So yeah, it was bad. The two
yeah.
turned the TV on and Lorraine got right back to work on Linnell's hair. And then the two got to talking about Linnell and Lewis's relationship. Specifically, Linnell told Lorraine that she couldn't find the secret cell phone Ike had given her and was worried Lewis had taken it.
Oh no. Oh no.
She had told him things were done between the two of them and that the phone no longer worked, and she told Lewis it was dead and out of service, but of course it wasn't true, and she and Ike had been very much still involved.
Oh
And as for the
shit.
phone, yeah, she added minutes to the phone earlier that day. It was like a burner phone, so you need
Oh
to
my
have
god, so earlier that day she had it and now she doesn't have it. And this
yeah.
guy's like psycho.
Of course,
Mm,
that's exactly what happened. Lewis had found the phone and he took it with him on his drive to LA.
fuck.
At some point, he turned it on, realizing it was still active and that Linnell had lied to him. At this point, he's fuming and he's like, fuck it, I'm not meeting my friend in
Mhm.
LA to work on my truck, and whips his truck around and speeds back to the Palmdale house to confront Linnell. I just was thinking like a dad on an angry road trip.
Oh, 100%. Except I would just keep thinking he had so much time to think about what he was going to do. But because he got the phone and he didn't react
Yeah.
right away,
No.
he's like, fuck her. And he goes and he thinks about it.
Yeah, and who
Oh,
knows how far he'd gotten.
yeah.
Well, a bit, because I guess apparently to Lorraine's story, about
Hmm.
an hour into doing Linnell's hair, Lewis burst in through the door, immediately confronting Linnell, but apparently she wasn't having it this time. According to Lorraine, she snatched her phone back from Lewis, grabbed Lorraine, and they fucked off, leaving Lewis fuming at the house. The two got into Linnell's BMW and headed to the mall for more hair care items and pizza, hoping Lewis would cool off while they were gone or even just leave and go
Oh
to
my
LA.
God. Yeah.
And security footage from the hair care store showed the two of them there, which corroborates Lorraine's story. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, this would be the last images of Linnell alive.
Oh my
According to
God.
Lorraine, when the two of them came out of the beauty supply store, they realized Lewis had been following them there this entire time.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, and he's waiting in the parking lot for them.
Oh my God.
And then him and Linnell started fighting again, just right there in the parking lot, saying things like, why do you still have this phone? You told me you'd shut it off. Are you still seeing this guy? Finally, Linnell gave in and told Lewis to just keep the phone and
Mhm.
gave it back to him, told him he could smash it if it makes him feel better, telling him it's over, okay. And apparently,
Mhm.
this reaction seemed to calm Lewis down enough to get him back into his truck and went back to the house. Linnell and Lorraine picked up a couple pizzas and headed back to the house as well. Which I'm like, why the fuck aren't we just going to Lorraine's house at this point?
Yeah, why aren't we going to Lorraine's house? Or if it's gotten this bad, I'd be like, I'm going to a hotel
Yeah, or
for
somewhere.
the
What, like,
night. Yes. Yeah, don't go back to her house where he has the
yeah.
keys for.
And they know that's where he went.
Hmm.
They go back to the house and surprise, surprise, Lewis is back in his angry self. Lorraine
Hmm.
told detectives, quote, Lewis was showing his ass again. Which
What?
I guess that's like a saying that he was
Just being a
Like
dick.
being himself,
Oh,
showing his
okay.
ass again. I don't know. That's what she says.
Okay. I literally pictured him like
Showing his ass.
showing his ass.
Here's my ass, ladies.
Just being a dick.
Uh,
Okay. That's
okay.
funny.
Lorraine said the atmosphere was excruciatingly tense, and when him and LaNell started bickering yet again, she said she left the two of them to work out their issues alone and told
Oh.
Lorraine she'd come back a third time later that day to finish up her hair.
Not even because of a little kid, because of her kids, because of her fucking boyfriend is a
Yeah.
loser.
And then apparently Lorraine just walked over to a nearby park. She told detectives she watched kids play for a while. Why?
What? Excuse
Yeah,
me,
that's
don't
weird.
do that. I don't fucking tell me to do that.
Yeah, what the hell? Anyway,
Don't. If I see you at the park and you don't even have a kid, fucking leave.
you're just watching kids play. Like, what the fuck
Don't
are you
look at my
doing?
kid. I have this thing where I don't like people looking at my kids, and that would just, I would, oh,
Just some lady sitting there staring
I'd
at them.
lose it.
Ugh. And then at 6:30 p.m., she finally went back to the house, and that is when she found her best friend lying in the pool of blood in the garage.
Oh,
Saw
man.
Lewis standing at the top of the stairs and got her ass to the police station. Now it's time to find Lewis and bring him in. And he wasn't hard to track down. He was actually at LaNell's mom's house,
Okay,
asleep.
wow. Excuse
Yeah,
me?
yeah, I guess he stayed there from time to time.
Wait, at her mom's house.
Yeah,
This
because
person, the mom of the person he just killed.
yeah, and her mom doesn't
What?
know anything.
And he just killed Jesus. I'm so appalled. And he's
So
just sleeping in her
yeah,
house.
well, he hasn't been convicted yet, right? We're innocent until proven guilty.
Wait, he hasn't been
But we
convicted yet?
No, we don't know it. This is Lorraine's just saying that she saw him. Yeah, so I guess he would stay there sometimes for to cut down on his time commuting to work. This was just a few hours after Linnell's body was discovered, and her mother hadn't been told anything yet. She had no idea her daughter had even been murdered. So they wanted to get Lou, but he is an asshole because he fucking almost ran her off the road.
Yeah, he's doing psychotic things, 100%.
Yeah, he's not totally, even if he didn't kill her, he's still a fucking crazy person.
You can't kill somebody's daughter and then go sleep at their house. That is just disgusting. And also,
No.
what are you doing sleeping?
They wanted to get Lewis out of the house safely at this point, and they're worried he's dangerous, crazy temperament issues, not to mention Lorraine basically saying she thinks he's capable of murder because we're
Mhm.
not sure if he did this yet. They reached out to him first, and he seemed eager to help, telling them, "Sure, absolutely, I can come to the station and talk to you, no problem." And
Mhm.
once he was out of the house and on the way, they broke the heartbreaking news to Bobby Barsock, LaNell's mom.
Man.
That's just sad. At the station, Lewis willingly gave a DNA sample and let the officer photograph him. He seemed weirdly cheerful at first. His account of the day pretty much matched Lorraine's. He said he left the house around 10:30 a.m. to drive up to LA to work on his truck. He admitted that he'd come back a couple hours later, though he didn't mention why. Nothing about Ike or the secret cell phone, but he did tell them about following LaNell and Lorraine to the beauty shop. And that's when his story took a different turn of directions than Lorraine's. Lorraine had
Mhm.
said that he and Linnell had gotten into another fight once they came back out of the mall. Lewis said that once they got back to the house from the beauty store, he'd said goodbye to Linnell again and hopped into his truck and headed once again to LA. So zero drama, zero fighting is
Okay.
his story. And then he said he arrived in LA around 2 p.m., spoke to Linnell on the phone around 2:30, then spent the next couple hours shopping for auto parts before driving to Linnell's mom's house to spend the night.
Mm.
And then that last part they knew was true because Linnell's mom said that he rolled in around 6:15 p.m. When
Mhm.
detectives were questioning Linnell's family about his arrival time to their house, Linnell's brother mentioned that he'd seen Lewis looking up flights to Miami and doing some online banking,
Okay.
which
Of
is
course he was.
suspicious.
That is very
Yeah.
suspicious. I mean, if you are innocent, why? I don't know. That's very suspicious.
Yeah, why are you looking at plane tickets and doing some online banking?
Hmm.
At this point, from everybody the investigators had talked to, everyone said that LaNell and Lewis's relationship had been a hot mess for the past few months.
Hmm.
But according to Lewis, everything was fine and their relationship was great. He told detectives he loved her and she loved him and they didn't have any problems.
Okay.
Weird. So when they
Hmm.
asked if there was any infidelity going on, Lewis shook his head and he said, "No, no, no, nothing like that. We're happy," he told them. And as they were interviewing him, Detective Espino noticed a huge scratch across his face on his cheek that looked pretty fresh.
Hmm.
When they questioned him, Lewis did admit that LaNell had done that. He said that they were having a little argument, but it was no big deal, and LaNell thought I was flirting with another girl on Facebook, but it was just a misunderstanding. We worked it out, he said. And
I thought he was gonna say, "Oh, we had rough sex." I thought he was
oh
gonna be like,
yeah,
said something like that. I like
I
my
know.
face grabbed.
That's the one thing that's missing in this
Yeah.
episode of mine is rough sex, as I feel that's been in everyone I've done.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
funny.
that
This has
would be far
none.
off. No, that's unfortunate.
That's funny.
Anyway, Detective Kenny took that opportunity to ask about a guy named Ike that Linnell may had been seeing, which seemed to catch Lewis off guard. Linnell told him Ike was a friend. He said just a friend, nothing, no romance or anything like that. No, nothing romantic at
Okay.
all. While this interview was going on, the CSI were still at the crime scene and they were uncovering more and more evidence. Something in particular was a note they found in the kitchen that looked like it had been written by Linnell to Lewis. So this note said, "Dear Lewis, I'm leaving you for Ike. He makes more money. You can do whatever you want to do with the house. We're getting married, so just leave me alone. I've been sleeping with him for 4 months now. Good luck in life. Don't try to find me. Goodbye, Linnell." And then at the bottom, there was a PS that had been scratched out, but it had previously said, "PS, I'm taking the TV," but the TV was still there. So it was scratched out.
I mean, even just knowing that he hasn't been convicted or anything like that, I just get a feeling that that note is kind of, it just sounds ridiculous to
It
me
does.
for anybody, even if they are leaving their spouse and they're writing a letter like that. It sounds like a ridiculously written letter.
Can have the house. He makes more money. What?
Yeah, fuck off. It's a why would she give up that house that she makes the most money? That's just silly.
Yeah, that note is silly. And then also when they showed it to Lewis, he was like, "No, what note?" Telling them that he had not seen a note and had no idea what they were talking about. Also, they have not told him they didn't he didn't know exactly why he'd been brought in yet. He just
But he
thinks
just
Linnell is
agreed to
missing.
it.
Yeah, well, he thinks she's missing, so he was,
Okay.
"Oh, yeah, I'll help find her."
Okay.
He had no idea she'd even been hurt. When they finally brought up the shooting, he acted totally stunned. He had no idea that Linnell had even been hurt. "Somebody shot her," he said, looking shocked. "Oh my God, that's not right." And he started crying hysterically.
That's not right. Oh my god, that's not okay.
Yeah, Lewis seemed to be making a ton of weeping noises, but Detective Espino noticed that he didn't have any actual tears, which is always weird.
Yeah.
They were also still pretty curious of that fresh looking scratch on his face. And trying to get Lewis to crack, Detective Kenny said he was trying to play a good cop. "We understand that things happen. We get it. You guys got
Mhm.
into a big fight. Things got a little crazy. She started to attack you. You
Okay.
killed her, right?"
Right.
Trying to do that. He said, "If this was an accident or you just lost your head for a second, just tell us and we can work something out." But Lewis was adamant that he had nothing to do with this. "It's not me," he wailed. "Find the right person for me, please," he said. "I'm begging you." And just kept repeating it. "It's not me." Forensic evidence
I
was
mean,
on
we
its
still
way,
have Ike. We don't know much about that, but I mean,
right?
it definitely sounds, I mean, he was, I don't know. This is weird.
Well, they found quite a bit of evidence, right? So they've sent it off for
Yeah.
forensic testing, but they already had Lorraine's eyewitness account, just placing him
Mhm.
at the crime scene with the gun.
Mhm.
So they weren't letting him get out of their sight. They figured he was planning to flee since LaNell's brother told them he was looking up flights to Miami and doing a bunch of online banking.
Right.
Yeah, within hours of her murder.
Mhm.
Some of Linnell's friends and family said that they'd seen this coming, or at least worried that it would. They placed Lewis in county lockup waiting for trial, and the investigation continued. The CSIs had found a bloody fingerprint on a plastic pitcher that they figured the killer had used to try and clean up. They also found a folded up area rug shoved into the back seat of Linnell's car, and when they unfolded it, there was bloody footprints on it.
Oh fuck.
Detectives were sure that those findings, along with whatever DNA they could uncover on some black latex gloves found in the garage floor, was all they needed to find Lewis guilty and put him away for good. Despite the fact that they had found so much evidence in the garage, the detectives could tell that Linnell probably didn't die there and had been killed inside the house because when they sprayed
Mm.
luminol inside the living room, it lit up like a freaking Christmas tree. Blood
Oh
splatter,
shit.
drag marks, yeah,
So she must have been shot
everywhere.
in there.
Yeah, in the back of the head.
Oh fuck. I just don't even want to imagine the scene in there that she must have been
Yeah,
going through.
and the missing area rug. So it looked like
Mhm.
somebody had dragged Linnell's body from the living room rug all the way down the hall, through the kitchen, and then into the garage.
Jeez.
There appeared to be a few more footprints scattered around too. In addition to all these blood trails, in the trunk of Linnell's car, they found a throw pillow with a bullet hole in it. So someone had tried to use a pillow as a silencer.
This
They,
fucking guy, did he come up behind her and do this? Oh
well,
my
this
god,
case is solved, so we find out exactly what happened.
that's so sad.
They found a 9 millimeter shell casing. They know exactly what the weapon was exactly.
Right.
They're thinking that they've got enough shit here. So while they're sending this all off for testing to confirm it's Lewis's DNA all over it, they're expecting detectives
Mhm.
head off to debunk his alibi because remember he had told them he went to the LA to shop for car parts and work on his truck with a friend during the time she was murdered.
Right.
They did find a couple of receipts from two different auto part stores in Lewis's truck, but they didn't have names on them, and they definitely didn't prove that Lewis had been the one to make the purchases. So Kenny and
Okay.
Espino made the drive to LA to visit both places and review their security footage from the day of the murder,
Mhm.
fully expecting to find nothing and prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that Lewis was lying and never went to these stores. That's what they're expecting. However, as they were reviewing the footage, in clear sight was Lewis and his friend shopping for car parts.
What?
First, yes. First at one store, then a couple hours later at another store. Like, holy shit, he didn't do it.
Okay, first of all, we're missing a component here because what if he got there, he saw her body and was like, holy fuck. So he runs, gets his gun, but then her friend was scheduled to come back thinking he wouldn't be home. She runs into it. She's freaking out. They're both freaking out.
He's hours away. The detectives are like, he could not have been there. He could not have done it.
What the fuck? And a murder for hire or something. Doesn't that sound
That's
just
what
incredibly messy?
they were thinking about that too. So the detectives looked stunned at each other. There was no way in hell that Lewis could have driven back to Palmdale in time to commit the
Right.
murder. But like you're saying, he could have had an accomplice.
Right.
Yes.
Wow.
They got a warrant to take a look at his phone because remember, we can like ping phones now and see
Mhm.
like exactly where you are.
Right.
But that takes time. Takes quite a while to get these records. So
Mhm.
so for now they had to go back to the drawing board because like what the fuck Lorraine had told them she saw Lewis at the crime scene with her own eyes.
Okay.
So was she lying? Like she had to be because it wouldn't have been possible. Like who the hell is Lorraine? They
Right, because if he was away, how did she see him with her own eyes?
Yeah. And why would she tell them
Dude,
that?
what the
And
fuck is
then
going on?
Yes. So the only thing that they know about Lorraine is that she told them that she and LaNell were best friends from high school. Like they go years back, more than 10 years of friendship.
Okay.
Or was she?
This is crazy.
So
Was she a stalker?
Detective Kenny suddenly remembered back to a strange encounter
Ugh.
at the sheriff's station on the day of the murder. He and his partner had been walking Lorraine to an interview room when they passed Lorraine's mother, Bobby, in the hallway. And
Okay.
Lorraine had run up to Bobby and hugged her. And as Detective Espino continued down the hall with Lorraine, Kenny stayed back to talk to Linnell's mom. Bobby, Linnell's mom, looked confused and asked, Linnell's mom said, "Who is that woman?" And
Are you shitting me?
the detective said, "That's your daughter's best friend," he said. Linnell's mom shook her head and told detectives, "I've never seen her before."
Oh, oh, I have full body shits.
I have full body shifts, me too, and I
Oh
know
my
this
God.
story.
Holy
Um,
shit.
at the time, it just seemed strange. Nothing really raised any alarms. I mean, parents
This
don't
is
know
like
who
a
their kids are friends with.
movie.
Yeah, well, but it's like it's fair because like parents don't, especially your adults.
But since high school, though,
So in
that's weird.
hindsight, yeah. So
Wow.
at the time, he was just like, whatever. He was like, parents don't always know who their kids are, but hindsight is 2020, and
Mm-hmm.
only now they're thinking Lorraine had been besties with their victim since high school, more than 10 years of friendship. Wouldn't her mother know her?
Well, that's just it. I mean, at some point in 10 years, you're gonna bring up a friend if you spend that much time with her.
Yeah, especially as she goes up and hugs her.
Yeah, that's weird.
So they dug in and found something nobody saw coming. Lorraine had not known Linnell since high school. They'd only known each other for a couple months or so.
Mm.
And how did they
This is why you
meet?
don't need new friends. You just don't.
Yeah. Well, do you want to know why they met though? They met through a Craigslist ad, a personal ad Lorraine had placed in a women seeking women section. So she was looking for a girlfriend, Linnell.
So Linnell was looking for a girlfriend
Yeah. So
and found Lorraine.
Linnell found Lorraine's Craigslist ad that was women seeking women. The two were
Sorry, I'm
lovers.
mixing them up. So they were actually lovers.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no Ike.
No, there's an Ike.
What the
Like
fuck?
Linnell's life is messy. The two were lovers and nobody had a clue. It started out pretty hot and heavy, but Lorraine was coming on a little too strong for Linnell. And a few weeks after they hooked up for the first time, she ended it. Linnell ended it. Linnell told her, like, I'm getting quite serious with my boyfriend. Linnell texted her. And so they have the text. It said, "So I don't want anything sexual with you anymore. I enjoy your friendship and I'd like to keep it that way." And seemingly, Lorraine had taken the rejection fine. In her reply, she wrote, "I understand. I'm just seeking friendship as well. I think you're a cool person to hang out with." And they had kept hanging out just as friends. Like this text exchange happened on June 11th, just 5 days before the murder.
Oh my gosh. So Linnell had an abusive boyfriend, but then also so she was cheating, but she had an abusive boyfriend, but then now she tries to find love from another place and that person is 10 times more.
Crazy.
Oh my god. Ugh.
According to text between the two ladies, she'd been hoping to move in with Linnell in her 37 square foot house that she just purchased. And they just
Mm.
started talking.
Wow.
Lorraine
Okay, so she's
was
pretty nuts.
Lorraine was more serious about a relationship with Linnell from day one. And as the investigators dug into her personal life and social media, they found something else disturbing. Even while she was seeing Linnell, she was speaking to and going out with other multiple women she met online. But
Mm.
the weird thing is, she was using Linnell's life story to describe herself.
Oh
So-
my god.
Yeah, so she
Oh,
was
this is
telling
so
women
creepy.
I know she was telling women that she'd bought this huge house and that she was a nurse. She even started leasing the same type of vehicle as LaNell.
This is really creepy.
Yeah, she
This makes
became
me so scared.
obsessed.
Like this, I don't want more friends. I'm
Well,
scared.
they were first seeking girlfriends. Yeah, that this was only after a month she became obsessed with LaNell, only after
Mm,
knowing her for a month.
fuck.
Now, Detective Espino ran her name through the California State
Oh,
Firearms
here we
Registry.
go.
Yeah, lo and behold, our girl had bought a 99 Smith & Wesson pistol about 4 months before the murder, a 9 millimeter, just like the one that killed Linnell.
Of course she did. Wow.
They hauled her ass in for another interview to confront her with all this stuff. And they straight up said, "Did you kill your friend?"
Yeah,
And
like let's just
Lorraine,
cut the bullshit. Fuck off.
yeah, she seemed offended. She's like, "Of course I didn't kill my friend." She said, "I love my friend." And then finally, several weeks after they sent for them, Lewis's cell phone records came back, and Lewis's phone had pinged in the exact places it should if he was telling the truth about where he went that day. They found his route from Palmdale to LA to the auto body shop,
Mhm.
back to Linnell's mom's house. The
So he
record,
wasn't stalking her.
well, he did admit to seeing her after the beauty shop,
Okay, oh right. So he
but
was, but
then
then he
took
did
off.
leave. But that's when Lorraine twisted it.
Yeah.
Ugh.
The records also showed the call from Linnell's landline to his cell phone at 2:30 p.m., so that was also true.
Mhm.
That time they knew from video footage that he was at the auto zone looking for truck parts, and that was the last time anybody heard from Linnell. And there were no suspicious calls to any possible accomplices, so he didn't have.
So he has some work to do for himself, but he's not a murderer.
No. So Lewis was telling the truth. He didn't kill his
Okay.
girlfriend. The DA dropped the charges, and the two detectives went to the county lockup to tell him he was being released. They
Yeah.
expected him to be pissed, threaten, and sue him, as you would. But when they
Mhm.
got there to release him, he hugged them and said, "Thank you so much," then asked them to please find the person who did this to Linnell.
Oh.
And yeah, Lewis wanted to see Linnell's
He's
killer
like,
brought to
"Please, thank you
justice
for doing your job and looking into my alibi."
and just find this person.
I mean, that is a quick whoops. I put the wrong person in jail if you really weren't going to do your job.
Holy fuck, could you imagine?
Oh man. And then we
And so
got this
they did,
crazy lady running around.
yeah, and also you were wondering before they did check into Linnell's other boyfriend, Ike, but he was cleared at the time of the murder. He'd been at a job interview at the UC Davis in Sacramento. When the forensics test came back and revealed Lorraine's DNA on those black latex gloves and a perfect match between her fingerprint and the bloody one
Uh-huh.
they found at the scene, it was pretty clear that she was the murderer. So this
Wow.
is the theory. So the theory was Lorraine had made a calculated plan to murder Linnell that June afternoon. Detectives learned Lorraine owned a registered 9 millimeter handgun
Mhm.
that used the same type of cartridge recovered from the crime scene, which had since mysteriously gone missing. Police believed she had taken the gun to Linnell's house, and then when she sat down to get her hair done, Lorraine reached over and put a pillow to the back of her head before firing a single gunshot to kill her. She then dragged Linnell's body through the house to the garage, leaving the trail of blood behind that she later cleaned up. Detectives figured Lorraine's first plan was to try to get Linnell's body into the car and then drive out to the desert somewhere to dump her body off. They also thought Lorraine had planned to steal Linnell's car, jewelry, any cash that might have been laying around, and probably her TV because of that note. Remember where it says,
Mhm.
"P.S. I'm taking the TV."
Yeah, so stupid.
And then scratched it out. She's like, "Oh, wait, I can't manage this TV." When her first plan didn't work out because it was too difficult to wrap Linnell's body in the rug and lift her into the trunk, she came up with another plan, which was to try and frame Lewis and say she saw him at the crime scene. She knew all about his history of jealousy, anger, and knew he'd be considered the prime suspect in the murder. When the detectives asked Lorraine to come in for a polygraph test. She dodged them by saying she would, but never did. And in the meantime, she was researching ways to cheat polygraph tests. In March 2011, so we're almost a year now, a warrant was issued for her arrest, but when they went to arrest her, Lorraine was nowhere to be found.
Don't tell me this bitch is running around.
A whole year goes by with nothing, seemingly vanished from the face of the earth. No arrest,
Okay.
no leads to Lorraine's whereabouts. Then, in December of 2011, America's Most Wanted publicized an episode about Lorraine, and it was successful at bringing in a new lead. Over the 2011 Christmas holiday, detectives received a tip that Lorraine was hiding out in the Central America country Belize in a town called
Okay.
Puto Gardo. I guess it's a tiny
Wow.
fishing town midway between Guatemala and Honduras, nestled
Just
in the
fully
middle of
hiding.
yeah, along the
Holy
Caribbean
fuck.
coast.
Oh my
She
God.
was miles from any major city or airport. And this is a fucking creepy part. She was going by the name Crystal, which by the way was LaNell's middle name.
Ah,
She's still fucking being a creeper.
fucking crazy. You know, it made me okay. I had two thoughts. Well, not just two, but I was like, okay, if he did it, why is he trying to do all these contraptions to get her into the car?
Yeah,
He
because
would
he's a
be able
big
to pick
guy.
her up and put her in the car. Why is there so much shit everywhere? It's just
Yeah.
so weird. And then is she, when you told me about it was her, I'm like, did she want to be her?
Yeah, they're not sure if she was completely in love with her or if she wanted to be her.
Ooh, because why? Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah,
These
staying at a
episodes
friend's
help.
house.
There's many times where somebody's, that's my fucking neighbor, dude. He's
Oh,
America's Most Wanted. I had no idea.
yeah, they do help.
Wow.
I mean, I'm sure they get a lot of shitty tips, but
Of course.
when it's a good one like this one,
Yeah. Wow.
he was staying at a friend's house, and FBI agents, along with local law enforcement, managed to track Lorraine down and arrest her on January 25th, 2012. The following day, she was returned to the United States to face justice. When detectives finally interviewed Lorraine, she told them she'd been on holiday. She'd been out there on
Okay,
holiday.
idiot. Sure.
It's so stupid.
I'd be
Yeah,
like,
I'm just
okay,
there.
anyways, I'll be back. Shut the door.
It took until 2015. She pleaded not guilty to the murder of LaNell Barsock. The jury heard the defense attorney argue that the prosecution's case couldn't show any motive for Lorraine killing LaNell, and that after LaNell had ended her relationship, Lorraine was totally fine with them being just friends. But when the prosecution presented their case, they asked the jury, why run away when you're innocent? Lorraine had spent nearly a year hiding out under a false name.
If you're just on vacation, why is your name Crystal, you fucking dummy?
Yeah, so they said she hadn't been there on holiday. Prosecution believed that Lorraine had told the truth about one thing only, and that was that she did make plans with Linnell to do her hair that day. When the two went to go buy hair supplies and pizza, Lorraine had already planned out Linnell's murder and came prepared with her 9mm handgun without Linnell knowing a
Sick.
thing. So
Sick.
fucking sick.
How do you get that intertwined with somebody after such a short time of being with them? You're fucking mental. There was something that something was missed of her growing up that she was a sociopath.
And she was not
Jesus.
okay with her and Linnell just being friends.
Mm-hmm.
Despite Lorraine's defense attorney trying to argue that no murder weapon had been recovered and that it was possible another person could have murdered Linnell, the jury wasn't buying it. On August 13th, 2015, after a 6-week trial, Lorraine Austin was found guilty of the first-degree murder of LaNell Barsock and received 2 consecutive sentences of 25 years for a total of 50 years in prison. Finally, five years after LaNell's murder, Lorraine had been held accountable.
So she's in prison now.
Yeah. And then actually she made an appeal because she
Mm-hmm.
said she didn't get a fair trial because of who was on her jury. And it actually hung in the balance for a while in California's Court of Appeal because they were kind of split on the matters.
Oh, really?
But in late November 2017, they finally gave a verdict. In a 2-1 ruling, the judge decided on majority basis that the jury's challenge to the trial were in fact fair and determined to uphold Lorraine's conviction. To this day, Lorraine remains in prison while LaNell's family and friends continue to cope with their loss. LaNell was put to rest in the Inglewood Park Cemetery by her family and friends, remembered as a compassionate young woman and how she made the world a better place by her kind nature and the way she lovingly cared for sick and injured. She was a successful woman who had carved out so much for herself in her short 29 years. LaNell's family posted memories honoring their beloved girl's life and her accomplishments, speaking sadly but gratefully of her beautiful smile and her ability to brighten dark moods just with her presence, accepting their deep ache in missing her. And they stated that God had other plans for LaNell. As her family continues to grieve her loss, they can't help but wonder what else LaNell might have accomplished if she were
Of
still with
course.
them. They said she will, however, live on in their dreams.
Oh,
And that is the horrific murder and twisted fucking tale of this poor woman's life, LaNell
that
Barsock.
is incredibly twisted. And I didn't see a lot of it coming. And it's just sick just because somebody didn't want to be with you. That is, ugh.
Or
They
they
don't get
wanted
to,
to be her, which is
they
even
don't, yes,
fucking
they don't get
creepier.
to live on this earth because you decided that you actually should be her or because she didn't want to be with you. What the fuck, dude?
Yeah, like you said, it was like a movie, but I did want to throw you off in the beginning for you to think because
Oh, you
said fucking
did.
detectives were thrown, everyone was thrown off. It was for Lewis was so guilty,
Well,
seemingly.
you have this volatile couple. Of course, immediately you go to the guy.
And he was lying about them not having any issues, right? And weirdly not crying, but crying in their interview.
Just weird. Yes, a lot of weird. And they say you don't know how someone's going to react, but that is weird to be crying but not be crying.
Yeah. And
And
to have a huge
also,
gouge on his face.
yeah, and I'm happy that it wasn't him. And maybe this is a wake up behavior needs to change.
Yeah.
But holy, there's a lot of people hurt in this.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
If you guys are looking for us, we are on Instagram at Dark Narratives Podcast, TikTok, Dark Narratives Podcast.
Or you can email us at darknarrativespodcast@gmail.com. We'd love an email.
Yeah, please, someone.
Please email us.
Someone email.
Yeah, suggestions. And also tell me if you have seen a ghost. Please.
Yeah. Or astral projected.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And then teach me how.
Yeah.
And that's it for this week.
Remember, it's a dark world out there.
See you, creatures, next week.